Survivor specialists Alexa and McKenna are back, and I haven't really kept track of this, but I think I have officially co-hosted more podcasts this month with McKenna than I have with Phil. McKenna, how do you feel about that?
I love it. It's great.
We've got a good thing going, and I think Phil's a little jealous about it. So make sure to rate us 5 stars and to talk about how much you love Alexa and McKenna.
It's because of the whole Girls Alliance thing. He feels threatened.
As does every male that plays Survivor, and they only come to fruition like 3 times.
Yeah.
So we're recapping the boot of 2 married people.
Yes.
So we had talked about last week. McKenna told everyone that Sam and Mark are actually married, and I was like, wonder if that's a spoiler. And spoiler, it was.
Yeah, John found it out because he looked up Amy on her like Survivor Wikia. And I was thinking, like, does that mean they go pre-merge? No, because like you're friends with the cast pre-merge if you go pre-merge or whatever. So like that doesn't mean anything. Oh, but it meant something.
Oh, it sure did. And especially when I watched these 2 episodes on 2 different days, so I didn't get as much continuity. But when Sam went home, I was like, okay, Mark's definitely in a bad position, but he's the Loki of their tribe. I mean, Sabotage has 1 Loki. They have both, I would say, Luke and Mark, as much as I'm sure.
They also have a Henry too.
And a Henry. So they have a little more spread on the men who are athletically talented.
Yes.
So you know what? They probably thought, who needs Mark? And they sure voted that way.
There goes McKenna's male winner pick.
I'm so sorry. He was a beautiful man, and he's probably very happily planning his wedding in the Australian version of Ponderosa right now.
Right. Yes.
Right now in our minds. But yeah, these are 2 pretty straightforward votes. The Asaga, kind of run of immunities is finally over, which is good because we're finally learning a little bit more about this tribe. But I don't know about you. I'm just learning more about the people I already knew about, and I'm still just like question mark, question mark, question mark. Who is Odette?
Yeah, Purple Odette. I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I feel like we finally got the answer to the storyline of Henry wanted to throw a challenge, and then they won it. And then the next 2, he didn't try and throw the challenge. But now we finally got that. All right, I'm going to throw this one. It's time to get Sam out.
Right. And this one actually worked. And we had talked about this last time, but it's really impressive to do a challenge throw all by yourself. We haven't really seen that before. Or at least people usually run it by someone and then people can get behind it. This one, it seems like he didn't even end up telling Jackie, who's his closest ally. And I think he did. This is probably one of the best challenge throws I've ever seen because absolutely nobody thought that this happened. And even at tribal council, nobody was even guessing that it was a throw. And I think when you're put in the puzzle position, it's really easy to fake it.
Yeah, but also I was like, Henry's a smart guy, and I'm pretty sure the rest of them know it. I feel like he's done enough to be like, this is a little questionable he's just standing back and like looking a lot. He wasn't like taking wrong pieces and trying to fit wrong pieces in. He wasn't for me, if I was going to throw a puzzle challenge, I'd want to like actively throw it where I'm like trying to fit puzzle pieces and they're not working and I'm getting frustrated, something like that. But when you're taking a step back and just looking at the puzzle, it's like, all right, get a move on, just try pieces, stop looking.
And that's a good point because if you're holding onto a piece and trying to like quote unquote fit it in, you're automatically taking away a potentially correct piece from your partner. So that's a better way to like make sure that I forget who he was with. Was he with Sarah? Like doesn't automatically accidentally win it. And John, our presently our only live commentator, he makes a really good point that that was a tough puzzle in the first place. And these are 2 challenges there are some challenges in these 2 episodes that we've seen before in American Survivor. But that's a challenge that's sort of like that fire one that like
I was gonna say that the flame one is harder. I was gonna say that because the shell, you have lines to follow and there's the shape of a shell. you don't know the shape of fire. You can assume, and then the fire just has colored block pieces. It's not an easy. I feel like the shell is an easier put together puzzle.
Yeah, I think you're right. And what do you think about the rest of this immunity challenge too? I think this is like a 1x1 water obstacle. You're chopping at the wood, and Mark totally kicks ass at that. Excuse my language.
I mean, Mark kicks ass at a lot of things, but
Sure
I like it and I don't, because you do all this physical stuff for what, once again, because as the host says, I'll never remember his name. Yeah, that guy. The puzzle is the great equalizer.
Yeah, he said it.
Yeah, so why are we doing all of this to not gain some sort of advantage in the puzzle? So like maybe you do all this, chop the thing, and you can then take the 40-piece puzzle instead of the 50-piece puzzle, or something where it's like, finish the challenge first, you get an advantage in the puzzle, where it's not just, we did this, but then the other tribe wins because they have a better puzzle person than we do, or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good solution for it, because Phil's always made the point that like what's quote unquote good about having a puzzle after some kind of obstacle course is that your brain is going so fast, and then it needs to slow down, and it's really hard to do that quickly. But you're right that like this is the great equalizer. What benefit do you get from getting there 10 minutes early? And I know it wasn't that quick, but still,
I just burned off all the rice I just ate at camp. Like, why am I burning up these calories?
And I don't know if you caught this, in Luke's case, he dove into shallow water, and it was like it wasn't a good dive. Like his feet were kind of in it, but man, that looked bad.
Yeah,
there's no one on this season I would have expected to do that other than Luke. But let's go back a little bit, because there's a little bit of drama on both of these camps, but we don't spend a ton of time on Sabotage, but Tara is not
pissed off.
She's pissed. She's not having words. She's crying.
Tara is pissed off.
She has a meltdown, is crying. Like she is not handling this well. What are your thoughts on Tara?
Sad about Peter.
Yes. Peter's in big trouble. I think it's weird that Peter was in trouble, but like Ziggy wasn't. But again, I don't know their dynamics so well. And everyone is is everyone a follower? That she said everyone's AK's the ringleader and everyone else is
which is essentially pot calling the kettle black, because it's her and Lockie, and they had Annalise, Amy, and Peter. But then AK tries to make a move, and it's like, oh no,
you sheep.
Yeah.
So we've Ziggy, AK, Tess, Pete, and Jared, and Tess is pretty much like she's floating right now. Like Tess is looking real good. She has done, I think, again, Survivor is, I think, a huge part of doing well in Survivor is luck, and Tess really had some luck, and it helps that she has a player like AK on her tribe and someone who was willing to give her a chance. And now, like, did she come up once today? I don't, or once in these episodes? I really don't think she did. Lockie, I think, handles this a lot better, but Lockie and Tara,
he's not going home.
Exactly.
Tara knows she's going home.
But then you still get like, what are Annalise's thoughts? Like nothing's going on with her. I feel like she's handling this the best because she isn't freaking out. But then again, she's not catching sharks, so I don't really know what her place is.
I don't think there was an Annalise diss this episode, so like
I was very upset.
So she's doing something right now that she didn't get a diss.
It's a slow winner's edit. It's coming.
I was hoping Sabotage would lose so Tara could go home, but
yeah, I think Tara. I don't necessarily think Tara is the immediate vote out if they go to tribal council, because I think Tara was in such a good spot and she got a little too cocky and now is in the position where, like, to your point, they need Lockie. He caught a shark. Tom Westman and Richard Hatch have caught sharks. Lockie is now in very, very good company.
But I don't think they've caught him with a spear.
That's even
like
with the
just
machete.
or just a machete. Yeah.
I wish they got like footage of that, because I just imagine him like hacking at the water and then nails a shark. But anyways, and Annalise, like, I don't think she's bothering anybody. I think she's like a positive presence to have around. So Tara is now just putting an even larger target on her back.
Yes. Oh yeah, I have the quote. He's the mastermind. You're the puppets.
Puppets. They're all puppets. That's what they are.
And John posted that in the chat also. Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. You're keeping us alive here. So let's go back real quick to the reward challenge, because I have a few comments on what goes down to actually win this reward.
I have some issues with this.
I have some issues with Ben.
I have issues with the challenge in general. Like, have they not seen American Survivor? This challenge has been broken. You squat and hop over the squatted person.
Yeah, that's I assume that they have, because these players for the second season of a show are playing at a very, very high level. And I know this was a reboot of Australian Survivor, so I don't know.
Right.
We don't know what happened in season 1. We don't know what happened in earlier seasons, but they have, I don't know, 36 seasons of American Survivor to study before going into this. So
this was season 12. This happened in Panama.
Yeah, this challenge happened.
This happened in Vanuatu. There are so many seasons that have had this challenge where it's like they figured out the trick where it's squat and just hop over, and you have all your big people go first, like, so you don't have Jared trying to hop over Lockie.
Yeah, that's true. But I would have really liked to watch that. Instead, we have all of a saga just like fall because Ben like doesn't have a sense of balance. Ben just sucks. I wrote that too. I was like, Ben sucks. And we get our first like Jeff.
I have Ben sucks eggs. Yep, that is my.
JLP says Ben is looking awkward and not helping, and that was at the beginning, and it only gets worse. And it's interesting because Ben's a pretty skinny guy, so he should be like be able to take that lean a little bit and let everybody, even if you're not,
especially him and hot model Sarah, like they're the skinniest people there.
Yeah, and I'm so glad her name is not Sarah. It has to be hot model Sarah.
Yes, we have all deemed it that, and we've all called Mark Military Mark.
Military Mark, maybe rest in peace.
Yeah.
So
I abbreviate her name in like text as HMS. So
I like that. Good to know. HMS you texted me about. I also think so they completely suck at this challenge. But there's two very funny moments here. The host, they're always like, Alexa, do you like by any chance really miss your mom? And then like my mom comes running out, or he's like, what do you want? And they kind of know what they want. He's asking them, he's like, what food do you want so badly? And nobody mentions barbecue. And then he's like, you get a barbecue. And everyone's like, oh my God, yay. It's so funny how he keeps trying to bait them and no one's taking it.
Yeah, I was expecting the crappy Survivor pizza or the crappy Survivor Chinese takeaway or something, because they zoomed in on Luke saying, oh, I miss takeaway.
Yeah.
And it's like, shouldn't that mean something?
That's also an interesting choice, because takeaway could be anything you want it to be. But I digress. Other funny moment, Odette drops a hard F-bomb out of literally out of nowhere, because I don't know if she's had a confessional. She may have had one or two. She's not on this season, and her entrance is a long F like multiple seconds. She's like, as she says it, I'm like, there she is.
There's Odette.
Yep. So Sabotage wins reward. They get a barbecue, and Lockie is the broiest of the bros. He has a confessional about like loving being the man with a beer in front of a barbecue, and honestly, that made me want barbecue.
Yeah, one JLP-ism that kind of I don't know if I like. He keeps referring to the big guys as Big Guy Lockie, Big Guy Henry, Big Guy Mark.
Big boy Mark. Like, it's like okay. Small gal hot model Sarah. How you doing over there? Don't think that has the same ring.
only a select few will get this, but she's pretty lengthy, hot model Sarah.
There you go. That was a great reference. Very good job.
Thanks.
Okay, so Lockie loves barbecuing. So how do you feel about AK's move here where he just, I don't know if this is a move, I don't know if this was a mistake. AK is just like, where's the clue? And everyone starts crawling around for it. Do you think, I think AK works well in organized chaos, or not necessarily organized. He works well in chaos. So I feel like this was a good move for him.
It for sure was a good move. It also pisses off Tara, and a mad Tara is good for him because then that paints the target even more on Tara.
Sure, definitely. So again, I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of idols, but nothing's been found. And really the only idol that's been referenced, and it was just referenced, was Jackie and Henry's love child. So
yes.
So I feel that's kind of all I have on this episode for Sabotage. You want to move over to a saga where all the hot drama went?
Yeah, we can go right back to the beginning before the reward where we have a big moment for hot model Sarah where she's like, it's too comfortable. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, essentially. She has a quote saying, I'm starting to care about some of these people. I'm still going to lie, cheat, and backstab. But it's like actually going to be a lot more difficult than I even thought it ever would be. That's
one of those confessionals that's like, why are you the one who said it? So I feel like they put that in.
Because she's the winner pick. She is the winner.
She wins. You're right. I know. I was trying to set you up there. HMS is the winner of this season. You heard it from McKenna first. So that I actually didn't even notice that she said that. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
I am hyper focused on hot model Sarah.
Abundantly clear. I thought you were going to say. So I mean, I don't really have a lot from the beginning.
I'm trying to avoid Kent's water aerobics that was going on as well. That was all cut through Sarah's confessional.
Yeah, they did a good job of being like, here's what the people need, these two things at the same time. So I have a question for you. McKenna, have you ever done yoga before?
No, but my friend Nick is a yoga teacher, so I follow him on Instagram and see all of his yoga poses and stuff like that. So I can tell that Henry is not doing yoga.
Henry is stretching.
I've also played a sport, so like that's what we did.
Stretching is very good for your body. I'm sure in a sense it is very meditative. Well, it is very meditative, but it is not yoga. There was not a single downward dog. I am that's not a I am in no way, shape, or form a yoga aficionado. That was not yoga, and people are starting to figure it out. I forget who actually kind of
Sam and hot model Sarah.
Hot model Sarah, I swear to God, she is running this camp.
And even again, if they just even watch Survivor with any yoga teacher on it, you can see any of the poses. Parvati's like always in the warrior pose. I think it is. Aris, Aris is doing any of these yoga teachers just take some moves from previous seasons. Like it's hard, but like it's also not that hard. You don't just stretch.
Yeah, and again, even Dean, I guess Dean didn't exist by the time this aired.
Right.
But the point still stands, he did such a good job of he grew out the hair, he's got a great body. I would have bought this.
He has the flowy clothes.
Exactly. And then during the stretching, I was just like, I don't know if I would have believed this. He does a pretty good job handling it. I think when they question him and he says oh, I got this certificate online.
No, he said he's not actually certified. He took some stuff online, and I'm like, so you're going to claim that you're a yoga teacher, but not a yoga teacher.
Yeah, so maybe they didn't show us a lot of it, but maybe he says he only does private clients, because I assume
that's what he was saying.
Yeah, you I don't think you can work at a gym or a yoga studio if you don't have some form of professional certification for it. So maybe upon hearing that, I would have been like, okay, this is a bunch of crap, and you're just someone who does yoga with people as a side gig. but that's not exactly what you do.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
again, go ahead.
He was saying it like, oh, like personal trainers, how you hire a personal trainer, you could hire me to do yoga with you. It's like, okay.
I briefly worked with a personal trainer. He was like super certified. So I think like personal trainers also like, I wouldn't trust a stranger to be like, hey, Alexa, like lift this heavy object. Like I wouldn't do that unless I knew that they professionally knew what they were doing.
Or like this person's helping you into weird and awkward positions. They might like, I want to have someone certified and like,
hopefully this is good for my body. Like I don't know. I do feel like in a sense he either handles it very well, or B, people don't really care what Sam thinks. I do think that they're at the point where they mention it. He's like, in a sense, sort of outed, but it never really comes to fruition. This happened with Gary Hogaboom. This happened with Brett LaBelle. Like like people figure it out and then they kind of move on. Like it's not a big enough deal for them to get rid of someone. However, Henry is starting to they are starting to build him up as this kind of like strategic, snaky guy because of how they get rid of Sam.
Yes. I think the people who were a little sus of Henry are that even more confirmed it, but the people who didn't really have an opinion on him being a yoga teacher, I think they're just, okay, that's how Henry is a yoga teacher.
And again, like you said, it clearly doesn't become a problem because Sam goes home with, a pretty big margin, and then Mark ends up going home. So these people don't really care. One thing that is completely insane, and like I guess I get why they didn't put much to it because it probably happened really quickly, is that Sam almost died before she got voted out. What the heck?
I do have a note saying Sam almost dies.
Yeah, that is not great. And it's interesting how they show it. Again, like this might have been just actually how they filmed it, but Luke is just like hauling ass over there. He is flying. And he saves her, and that
with his propellers. He's got his propellers.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta say, he was moving fast. That must have been absolutely terrifying. I am so curious, like what happened, and I don't know if that adjusts, like if production adjusted where they could hang out in the water, because it didn't look like they were in that deep.
Yeah, I think she was like right at a wavelength because she's not the tallest girl, so like. It could come up to Luke's knees, but Sam's waist.
Right.
So she could have just been pulled right under.
Yeah. And I've never been caught in a riptide before, but it seems absolutely terrifying.
You saw her face. She was like all red, coughing. It was bad.
And I'm sure like she would have been okay because I assume there's production like everywhere. And I think they have boats, but now that I'm actually saying it out loud, they might not on hand. But yeah, that was like completely insane. And Jericho
I think only during the challenges.
Yeah, I think when they're on camp, they're on land. Jericho is the heart eye emoji after that happens, though. He is in love with how Luke saved her. I thought it was so adorable.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know if you caught this before Sam dies. Is this
before she dies in the riptide or before she dies out of the vote?
Oh, no. Well, both. But Sam sees her and Mark as two mates who can like just talk to each other, and they're just friends. They're mates.
They're mates.
But is that Australian mates or is that American mates?
Yeah, they seem to have very different connotations. It's like the SpongeBob episode, like 3 hours later, and then it's their wedding.
Exactly. So she's just like, yeah, it's great to have just someone you can confide in. And then Mark's like, yeah, Sam's great. I can trust her as much as you can in this game. And I'm like, so you're canoodling? And they're like, no, we're friends.
Like, come on, please. Yeah, actually, when we get to the second episode, I do have a question for you because we had a big conversation about what's a flipper. In this final tribal council, they talk about what's a power couple. But real quick, let's vote out Sam first. Mark is okay. We have Mark's got some good intuition, and I think from my understanding and from all the exit interviews I've read, people who go home always like they feel a wrong vibe. I think for Mark, that's even more accentuated because he does know how to study people in his profession. How do you feel about his method of like interrogating people one-on-one and kind of using an intimidation factor rather than potentially like trying to break off from Sam or trying to get a group together? They do try to get a group together, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. He's never breaking off from Sam. Like, he's gonna either go down with the ship like he did or try and find numbers somewhere. But I feel like an intimidation tactic, it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Or at least this is that way for me. Like, if I'm trying to get strong-armed into voting some way, I'm going to talk to my alliance and be like, hey, Mark is trying to strong-arm me into saying something here. Like, how do we shut this down or something like that? Because at least me personally, I don't take well to, like, being strong-armed by someone.
Most people don't. Yeah, it's like in general, like especially in a game of social politics where you want someone like you and I could be voting differently, but I need you. So I'm not going to. I don't think he was being a jerk by any means, but like I'm not going to use an intimidation factor. I'm going to try to make you like me so that you want to vote with me. So and he does. I am curious. How did you think that interaction with hot model Sarah went? Because she didn't blow it, but she didn't convince anybody. She was like, "It's Michelle, duh."
Right?
Like, right? Like, what do you think? And he's like, "Well, what do you think, Sarah?" And he's like, goes all Batman on her.
Sam has this confessional in the beginning where she's like, "Oh yeah, I trust our alliance," and 3 people in that alliance don't vote her out, which is Mark, Jackie, and hot model Sarah.
Yes. I love that so much. Yeah. And I think like it's kind of okay because this doesn't end up. Mark and Sam are the only people who voted for Michelle. Everybody else flipped on them. So this was not by any means like a swing situation.
Yeah. They got their numbers. They saw them as a power couple and voted them out because they're the more obvious power couple because you can see them like cuddling, constantly touching, talking with each other. Like that is a threat. So I feel like that is a bit more threatening right now than Jackie and Henry. But I feel like it would have been. I was kind of rooting for Henry and Jackie to be split up in the second episode because hey, they did that to one couple. Why not do it to the other one? And Henry was just so cocky. So I was like, I really hope he gets his comeuppance, but I didn't want Jackie to be the expense of that. I would have rather Henry go instead. But
yeah, I think you're right. And they do that. They're always going to get rid of Sam first. They're always going to get rid of Jackie first. I don't know the exact numbers, but it is overwhelmingly in favor of the women going home first than the men.
Right, for sure. I feel like in the case of Mark and Sam, that Sam was 100% the right choice to go home because she was doing a lot more of the schemy legwork and she can integrate herself better, where Mark, he can read social situations, but I don't feel like he can integrate himself well into social situations.
Yeah, exactly.
He's more of like the chainsaw rather than the scalpel.
Wow. That was a really good analogy.
I was just watching the show Legends of Tomorrow, and
I was like, you didn't just whip that out of nowhere.
No, I did not. I will give credit to CW.
And I mean, we see that in the next episode, and I guess this could be a good time to move on to episode 7. Mark's like kind of broing down with Luke, but Luke goes to him, and Luke's the one who like can't handle people telling him what to do, but then ends up, it doesn't end up working out. But Mark, like, he's mad, and it's obviously like when votes don't go your way, it's very understandable to get mad. But I don't see kind of a like, well, how can we work together vibe. I see well, I'm just going to go for everybody else and get rid of Henry kind of vibe.
Yeah, It was very like brutish, and I'm angry and I'm gonna Hulk smash, you know.
Right. And at the beginning of this, he goes to Kent. And also one quick thing to mention: Michelle is on this season. She receives 2 votes tonight. I'm very confused by it. Goes to Kent.
Okay.
And I know I was like, why? We talked about Michelle, but like, who is she?
Yeah.
And he's like,
apparently
hey,
she does get an edit later in the episode and becomes John's least favorite person on this season.
How?
I don't know, but everyone who I talked to has now finished the season, and they're like, just you wait. So.
Oh gosh. Okay. I don't like knowing that, but anyways, okay. So he goes to Kent and he's like, Kent, what do you feel about Jackie? And Kent is so kind. He's just like, honestly, we're really tight. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Because him, Jackie, and Henry are in a 3 alliance because Henry and Jackie were smart and just scooped up Kent because he was kind of he was a little bit schemy as well. So to have him as a number and also as like a throwaway, since it's a final 2,
yeah,
they could either split off at final 3 and take one of them take Kent, or then they know for sure he might not win a challenge.
Mm-hmm. And I think what the 3 of them do is really smart. And obviously everyone's talking about Henry and Jackie this episode, but Jackie like says this verbally and Kent says this to us in a confessional, but they try to hide their relationship. And Jackie is really cognizant of not wanting to seem like a power couple because of the intimidation factor of Mark and Sam. And Kent says in that confessional, he's like, I don't really want people to know I'm close to Jackie. And I think that's why, to this point, they've done really well. And I didn't realize Kent was going to play with them until right now. But I think that's why this ends up working out for them, because I think if Henry and Jackie were not as good of players as they are, one of them would have gone home.
Yeah. Me just wanting some drama. I would have liked Henry to go home, but
yeah, there would have been. Just wait until like if Luke goes home, like I feel like that's gonna be a hot mess, and that's gonna be so awesome. But and Tara, we've got a lot of people who can provide that for us.
In the comments, we've got some. I think Michael was asking who our female winner picks were.
Oh God,
I don't know if you remember. You picked Tara.
I don't remember, but that feels like a choice I would have made.
And mine was not Sam. It is 100% Hot Model Sarah. So that is my female winner pick.
Don't disrespect her name, everybody. Hot Model Sarah. How dare you not believe in McKenna? Yeah, I definitely said Tara because Tara in that first episode had she had that fun growth thing going on. And
stay at home mom barrel racer. Yeah.
I'm a sucker for a stay at home mom / barrel racer. What can I say?
Well, Sierra Dawn Thomas is now pregnant. So
exactly. And Sierra Dawn Thomas has a pretty good average placement. Anyways. So
moving on.
Let's move on to Sabotage because they get even less airtime in this episode. Ziggy gets some hero music while she's diving, and she gets a good confessional. I'm liking her.
Yes.
And Tara and Annalise.
Ziggy is great.
She's awesome.
Ziggy's she's a beast too. Like she is just well-rounded, socially, physically, strategically. I feel like she knows where it's at.
Yeah, she is. What was I going to say? She's someone who I think if there were if AK or Lockie or just or Tara or just a ton of loud personalities weren't on her tribe, I feel like we'd get a lot more of her. But she's someone who I think could win. She's clearly someone that everybody wants because she flips last episode, and the Misfit Alliance that is now actually a Misfit Alliance that is Tara, Annalise, and Lockie. They come up to her and they're like, "What are you thinking?" And she doesn't give them a no, but she's like, I'm open. I'm open to conversations.
Well, you always say yes.
Exactly.
You never say no.
Everybody does that.
And that's what gets them voted out, Penner in Philippines.
Yes. So that's really all we get. And then Lockie does catch a shark, which is just completely insane.
Yes.
So this episode, there's no reward challenge. They go right to the immunity challenge. I have been noticing that like every other episode is like 50-ish minutes and one is like an hour and 10. So I don't know if they did that purposely. I don't really know how that works on TV.
I wonder, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but anyone in the comments, but I think it might air like two days a week. Like I think
you're right.
There might be a longer episode and a shorter episode.
So maybe one gets like 90 minutes and one gets an hour. That sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think I believe it does air twice a week. Again, someone please tell us that because we're in Australia and we don't watch this live. We're watching this 3 years late.
Yes.
So this immunity challenge is the Heroes versus Villains butt kicking challenge. This one is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this?
I love this challenge, but it's also very unfair to like certain matchups. And also, I was surprised that some people didn't win. I think it was Tara versus Odette, I want to say.
Odette beats her
twice. I was like, Sarah has weight on Odette. So I thought Tara was just going to like ram right into her. But Odette is like, we don't know, but she's, we will never know. But yeah.
Yeah, she looks pretty built. I mean, now that, we're being shown her like 2 or 3 times an episode, she looks like she's got some muscle on her.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, Odette kicks Tara's butt both times. Who do we have? We have Kent beating Peter. I wrote down that Ziggy owned Jackie. Again, Ziggy's really, really good at
no one wanted, once Ziggy said she was going, all the girls just looked at each other like, who wants to fall on the sword? And Jackie was like, fine.
Yeah. And then we have an interesting move of Jared and Mark, which happens twice. And Jared does pretty darn well on that second try.
Yes, he's scrappy.
Scrappy. He's good. And I guess that helps. Like, I feel like this is a challenge where it benefits you to be a little shorter. Not necessarily with this matchup, but in general, because it's easy to get low to the ground. And when you're on the ground, it's kind of hard to shove the person off. But yeah, that was a really weird combo.
I feel like, because Jared, I don't think was going to win against any of their guys.
Yeah. Good thinking.
So, and Mark has a strong chance of beating someone on Sabotage. So throwing him against Mark is a win. Mark. Yeah, it wastes Mark. It keeps one of their guys for like Luke and Henry, where they can brawl out. Where Lockie's huge, Luke is huge, Henry's huge. They have big guys, and to try and just throw away Jared.
Yeah, because you're right. You have 3 like huge dudes on a saga. You have 1 Lockie on Sabotage, so you can only use him one time. Ends up working
and you
out.
Have to strategically pick that person.
Yes, this does end up working out for them. But what are your thoughts on this final matchup? It's Annalise versus your favorite. I mean, let's say my favorite Annalise versus your favorite hot model Sarah. And
I knew she was toast.
But they go back to back. What are they doing at the end? She pushes her off. They're like running around on each other's backs the whole time. And
because they're trying to like spin the other person around to get them off the platform. But a hot model Sarah is like 30 pounds soaking wet. Like it's she was not going to win this challenge. Maybe her versus Jared, she has maybe an advantage, but or maybe her and Tessa. But other than that, I feel she was going to lose this challenge no matter what.
Right. But I am surprised because I think this happened in Heroes vs. Villains where someone got in trouble because they didn't push someone off. I think they either grabbed. It
was Coach. I believe it was Coach and Rupert or something like that. And Coach thought he won and they were like, no, it doesn't count. Redo it.
Right. Because you have to do it by like pushing with that thing.
With the bag.
I did think it was weird that, I mean, Annalise ends up winning because she still uses the push method, and maybe that was it. But I'm surprised. Well, I mean, again, it's really different. But I was like, I wonder like what the rules are, because that was kind of weird how she won.
Yeah, I think a hand was used in Heroes versus Villains where it has to be with the bag. And so if they fall off because they slip, like that sucks for them. But yeah, it's if you're pushing someone, it has to be with the bag. Both hands have to be on the bag.
So Annalise, challenge beast Annalise, brings it home for Sabotage. They are on a 2 immunity challenge win streak, which sends Asaga back to Tribal Council. And what goes down back at camp ahead of this Tribal Council?
Oh, Mark is just trying to get the votes on Jackie. Because power couple.
Yes. So what is a power couple to you?
I feel like any 2 people that will for sure vote together.
Yes. I'm with you. I think power couple has evolved from a romantic couple to any kind of pairing of people.
Yes.
I think it's like Henry made a bit of a mother-son reference, which I thought could have been bad, because again, if this happened on American Survivor, I think that sets off Malcolm and Denise vibe to a lot of people, which is I'm sure terrifying. Because I think a lot of people try to emulate Malcolm and Denise and not so much Rob and Amber. But again, it's actually, I think, is it Hot Bottle Sarah? She tells Henry and Jackie that she's with them, but she's like, whatever comes up isn't
She's
true.
in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah, she's in the middle. So she was, I think, telling Military Mark, like, yeah, I'll vote with you or whatever. And so she then went to her like real alliance where she was voting, like, hey, I had to try and like get Mark off my tail a little bit here, and I had to lie to him. So whatever you hear from Mark is not true.
Right. And it's really only it's Luke, and Luke approaches Mark before the challenge, and he's like, let's get rid of the power couple. And Mark's like, thank God I finally have a lifeline. And Ben speaks, and Ben says that Luke's got a huge authority problem, and Luke doesn't like being told what to do. And we've seen that Luke really likes being the one to move and shake and change the votes. And you see him try. And I think Luke did a better job than what Mark probably could have done on his own. And I think Luke's who he needed. But it's really only Luke, Mark, and I think Jericho who end up voting, and everybody else stays with the group.
I will say Luke and Jericho, another power couple. I don't see them voting against each other. So I feel like Asunga is the power couple tribe, and Samatau is the flipper tribe. Like, those are their arcs.
That's a really good way to put it. I also think, and I haven't actually thought about this, so this theory could be really wrong, but people again, we talked about how power couples originally started off as a romantic thing. It has since evolved to any 2 people who have some kind of platonic or whatever kind of relationship.
Yeah, like Dom and Wendell, big power couple.
But I feel like when it's a same-sex power couple, even platonically, people don't think that way. I think because there's no like, like mother, son, or like they could be romantically engaged. Even though they absolutely could be, people really don't look at it like that. Because I think they'll look at Luke and Jericho and be like, oh yeah, they're just bros, like whatever, and don't actually think that they have the game capacity to be a power couple.
Yeah, I'd love to see, like, have we had a power couple that was like same sex with, like, if Mike White had someone, because he's a gay man, if he had like a male like person, if they would be like, oh, he's gay and in a power couple with a guy, like they still, I think, wouldn't connect that. I don't think so, they're a power couple, you know,
because it doesn't really connect with people even on a platonic standpoint. Like I think of like Sophie and Sarah as the most recent version of that, but Tony got rid of them because like he's really the only one who saw it. No one else saw it that way, and he never said it as power couple.
He wanted like, Sarah.
Exactly. So yeah, I am curious. I am curious if that would be the case. I think that'd be an interesting like psychological experiment.
Well, when I get on Survivor and form a power couple, you'll be able to see if it works or not.
I will interview you and we'll find out.
Great.
So
first boot. All right, let's.
So Ben doesn't like that Luke doesn't like authority. And so they go to tribal council and they talk about they go to tribal council with like 12 minutes left. And that's what's awesome about having these long episodes. Like 12-minute tribal council is the norm and not so much like oh shit, everyone's going to start like whispering to each other, which I really hope doesn't happen. And I think I might have just jinxed it.
Alexa, please.
I'm sorry. So they're talking about this a lot. And I actually did think it was going to be split, but this ends up again being a really kind of easy vote. And this is something I noticed. So JLP, I think, does an okay job. I think it's hard to just like be Jeff, because Jeff it took 20 years for Jeff to become Jeff.
Right.
He has this moment, and I really forget what the context was. It might have been talking about power couples, and he does that thing that Jeff does where he kind of gaslights them, and he's like, "Are you serious? Like that's what are you talking about?" And they're like, I don't know. I just answered the question. Like he's trying to do the Jeff, like, oh my God, like we're playing Survivor. And the person just does not react well to it.
Gosh, that's also the quote of these two episodes. Like, we're playing Survivor. We're playing Survivor. Yes, we know. We're watching the show for a reason.
It's like if someone talks about the Survivor gods one more time, or if one person says like, I'm the queen bee, like there's so many quotes that have been said before. Flip the game on its head. It's just, we've heard it all before.
One of my least favorite phrases is "this is chess, not checkers."
Yeah.
Like, it makes my ears bleed.
I turn off the television.
Yeah.
That's, we should do something with that. Like most annoying, like Survivorisms and bestisms. Okay. I'm going to put that away for retrospective. I'm going to put that away for a month. We don't have a retrospective. Also great tribal council quote. JLP's like, Ben, what do you think? And he's like, honestly, it's not me, so I don't really care. Ben is ridiculous.
Then I would have been like, all right, so everybody who wants to vote Ben now, he's
like, do you know where you are? Ben has not said we're playing Survivor.
Yeah, because Ben isn't playing Survivor.
So Mark ends up going home. Henry, Jackie, Kent, Odette, Ben, and hot model Sarah all vote for Mark. So we have Sam going home and Mark going home. Very sad, but honestly works out better for them than probably anybody else. So joke's on us.
We won't get an awkward Aussie final tribal speech from either of them for splitting them up and not letting them have days together. Now they get 1 billion days because this season lasts forever.
Hopefully we get it with Luke and Jericho, because that would be hilarious.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, there we go. What else do you have?
I think that's it.
Yeah, these were two pretty straightforward episodes. So I didn't watch the preview, and I know like I normally do, so not sure what's going on next week.
I think I missed the preview too, so
excellent.
Or I just don't remember it.
Yes, good podcasters over here. That car is really mad that we didn't watch it.
Yes.
McKenna, we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up, one of which you are running, hosting, thought of. Can you tell us what is up?
Okay, so officially on the Survivor Specialist, the regular page as well as the Patreon page, and the link, there's a link in the description, but we are hosting a Survivor trivia game on December 13th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on a Zoom call. It will not be live, but it will be posted to the channel that following Tuesday. And for the next 2 Tuesdays, we have done 2 previous games. So if you guys want to get like a chance to see the format and kind of how we run our trivia game, tomorrow and the following Tuesday, we will be posting our other games. And you guys can hopefully join in. We have 15 slots available, and we have some Survivor guests who we just need to finish confirming, but They're good, so you'll want to sign up.
It'll be fun. Definitely sign up. We'll repost it on all of our social media too. And we'll put the link, or I'll put the link in the bottom of this description as well, so you guys can apply.
Yes. And then Wednesday, we have The Amazing Race right after the episode, recapping with Andy. Alexa and Andy will be on. And then Monday, we'll be back right here at 5:30. Tuesday is our second trivia game that we hosted. And then Wednesday the 9th, we have Amazing Race with China right after.
McKenna, you nailed it. And it's because I actually told you in advance what was going on. McKenna was smart enough to ask what's up. I was a jerk. And I'm like, here's what we're doing. But I'm not telling you any dates or times. Just figure it out.
Yeah. So be sure to sign up for the trivia game and follow on all social medias for updates on anything with scheduling and Survivor Specialists without the vowels on Twitter, Instagram, and then become a patron, because being a patron is awesome. You get to do things like this.
Yeah, it's pretty darn awesome. You're like pretty much a permanent co-host at this point. So everyone try to be more like McKenna and start off by doing that by being a $20 patron.
I tried to become the female intern, but that wasn't working out. So I was just like, all right, let's become a patron and try and do all these things to try and be on the podcast. And here I am.
And look at now, I think you've beaten intern out a little bit. So
I mean, I did his job for the Mike Bloom episode where you guys were like, intern, write down these people that we want for a second chance season. And so I did that and mailed it. I emailed it to you guys.
I woke up to an email the next day and I was like, this is good to have in my back pocket. So like McKenna said, sign up for the Survivor Game Show Network's trivia game. We're going to post that wherever you guys will be looking. Become a patron. Follow us on our social media. Give Alexa and McKenna 5 stars on iTunes so Phil gets jealous. Hope y'all had Thanksgiving for those to celebrate, and we will talk to you on Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye. I always forget that.